Yet another must-win game for the Wigan Warriors. Beaten by Castleford last week, now they try their luck at Wakefield. The Wildcats are desperate for the win also, so it should be quite a game. Live from 7 tomorrow on Sky Sports 1. The NRL continues, and the live match in the morning is the St George Illawarra Dragons against the New Zealand Warriors, 8:30 Sky Sports Extra, and it's the same channel on Sunday for West Tigers against Newcastle Knights, kick-off time 10:30. Right now, can Warrington bring to an end the most dismal record in Super League? 15 times they've tried and failed to beat St Helens. Is this to be their moment? The Saints lost their unbeaten record last weekend, but they are still top of the table. Huddersfield came up with a giant-sized shock last Saturday night. St Helens beaten for the first time in 2006. Meanwhile, Warrington were continuing their brilliant form in the south of France. It's 4 straight wins now for the Wolves, and against some of the biggest names in the game. Last season it needed something special to win this match, and Sean Long provided it. 26 seconds remaining, the drop goal won it for Saints. Earlier this year, not even a snowstorm could hold St Helens at Warrington. It was a great advert for the Super League in awful weather. The Saints' blistering start to the season is reflected in the selection of no less than 10 men in the Great Britain squad. From Warrington, just 2, but no Lee Breers. In scintillating form, and with Iestyn Harris retired, Breers can surely press his claim here. Defeated for the first time last week, will Daniel Anderson maintain his 100% record at home? Or is Paul Cullen on the edge of his first ever victory at Knowsley Road?
It's a possibility, but I believe they've got the personnel. I believe they've got the spirit to turn this season around. There's 14 to 15 games left, and I've never predicted at the beginning of the season they'd be in this position, and tomorrow night's game with the Wakefield would have such consequences.
It could have massive consequences for the club. I mean, they're not playing well at the moment, but you think Brian Noble can turn them round? You think he can rescue them?
Well, if anybody can, Brian can. He's the kind of bloke who'll make them feel good about themselves. Who'll work on our defence, because it's no secret that we've been leaking too many tries. Wigan don't leak 40 or 50 points in a game, and that's been happening a few too many times this season. So I'm sure that's one area that Brian's going to start working on immediately.
Well, as Chris says, tomorrow night Wigan's trip to Wakefield is a massive match. You'll be able to watch with us here on Sky Sports. Chris, as we look at this game, Warrington, they've lost their last 15 matches against St Helens in the Super League. As a former player, does a record like that niggle away at the back of your mind when you face the same opposition?
It probably doesn't niggle on the back of your mind. The coach's journey here, they're probably thinking, we've never won here and things like that. But now's the time that Warrington can prove to the rest of Super League, are they the real deal? They've had great wins over Leeds and Bradford, and can they come to St Helens in pretty good form themselves and upset the odds? It's a big night for the Warrington club to see whether they are contenders or not.
Phil Clark, as we come to you, as we watch the Warrington team go through the bottom of our screen, when Paul Cullen took over at Warrington 4 years ago, 2 weeks later, St Helens beat the Wolves here 72 points to 2. Since then, Warrington have got closer and closer, haven't they?
They have, and they come here absolutely brimming with confidence. 6 wins in their last 7 matches really does testify to the improvements they've made. They now have an ability in the middle of the field that matches their ability out wide to score tries. And really in wins over Bradford and Leeds, they've shown that they contend with the best and beat the best. Now, they are aware of the fact that St Helens for some time now haven't played anywhere near to their full potential. Far too many handling errors from the Saints last week didn't give them a chance of winning the game. A combination of Huddersfield's great defence and maybe a lapse in their own concentration. And all 3 of the tries that the Giants scored last week came immediately after a handling error that Saints came up with. They weren't turning over possession on their own terms. So really there's a good omens here for Warrington today, but you can't rely on what's happened over the last few weeks if you want to beat St Helens. It's what you do over the 80 minutes when the whistle's blown.
Well, needless to say, there are some very big men out there tonight, some big physiques, and you believe that perhaps this is the key area.
I do really, yes. I mean, the go forward for both sides is a key part. Back in round 4, Saints, I felt, won that battle and went on to win the match. And Jason Kalis, one of the players they've got, a really talented player. Just back from down under, where he represented New Zealand for the 8th time. Immense experience for somebody still only 26 years of age. And we see there, he's played in 3 grand finals for the Sydney Roosters. During his time there, he was part of the awesome defence that they built up at the Roosters, and they've brought an element of that here to St Helens. He really is a quick player and no longer decides just look at size when it comes to a front rower. Speed is now a key ingredient when you want to be a world-class front rower. For the opposite side of the field, well, here's a guy only 24 years of age, but with clearly the best 5 or 6 years ahead of him in his career. Speed and footwork again are his biggest asset. He is a difficult player, breaks through the line and gets innumerable quick play the balls for his teammates. Had a massive game against St Helens when they met earlier in the year, and really is the top go forward man. Makes so many metres for the Wolves, sets up the platform for the likes that Breers then can play and show their skills on the back of. Those two tonight, watch closely for just the little things they do in the match. Defensively well, really important. Paul Wood made over 300 tackles this year and only missed 3. He's had a massive season so far.
And that's why he is in the Great Britain squad. Steve-O, as far as Warrington are concerned, 4 straight wins in the Super League behind them. They've got a bit of consistency coming into this fixture, haven't they?
Yeah, they certainly have. I said last week that, Warrington perhaps have shed off that tag of being a yo-yo side, which they have been for quite some time now. Now, if I was Paul Cullen, and if you're a Warrington fan, I would hope that he has approached this game as a top-class professional, as though it was the grand final. We know that what they're capable of, but they've got to steel themselves. They've got to make sure that they've got that nerve to be able to just put it out on the paddock. And there's no better place than to convince yourself that you are in the running to appear in that grand final at Old Trafford come season's end. And that's here at Knowsley Road. It's not going to be easy for them, and he knows it. Forget about what's gone on in the past. Paul Cullen will be fully aware of what is needed, and that is a good base with the forwards. They know they've got the 3 quarters. We speak about Breers, absolutely wonderful team this year. He's outstanding, and we've also talked about Gleeson. And that is the man that perhaps everyone in rugby league is asking the question, why won't he be given a chance? We've had Justin Harris retire last week, and you would think they would replace him with a 5'8". They haven't. They've replaced Harris with a winger in Martin Aspinwall. It is as though, to my mind, this man has been given the bad vibes to never ever represent his country. This guy already has. Leon Price. It should have been a huge battle in the standoff tonight, but Saints have reshuffled him. Price has gone back into the full-back position. No stranger to that. Price this season is at his best. Is as good as what we saw about 3 years ago when he first hit the big time in Super League. He is a tremendous talent. Has a habit of going to sleep. We haven't seen that this season. His switch from Bradford to this wonderful club here at St Helens has done him the world of good. He looks confident. He goes looking for the football, and he's doing a lot of work in defence. If he can keep that up, he's definitely on the plane to Australia come season's end. But there's one man out there against him that will be trying to prove everybody wrong, and that is Mr. Lee Breers. He is the key. If he clicks tonight, Warrington could come up with a shock win.
Well, as Steve-O says, their attention really has switched now to the international scene. This week, Brian Noble's 36-man training squad met for the first of what will be 4 training sessions before the Tri-Nations tournament, and indeed before the international against the Kiwis here at St Helens next month. 8 new faces. 8 new faces in Brian Noble's squad, but all the talk is about one man who isn't there.
It's always better when we're together.
Together for the first time, the men who represent the future of Great British Rugby League. Alongside the familiar faces like Peacock, Sculthorpe and Sinfield, there's Andy Lynch and Jamie Langley, Martin Aspinwall and Adi Gardner, And then there's these two, James Graham and James Roby. They're 2 of 8 Saints stars to join the GB setup.
It's a great boost that it's been recognised that we must be doing something right to get picked, and so we'll just, hopefully me and James carry it on, the rest of the lads really just carry on the way we're going.
James, did you see this coming so early in your career?
Probably not, no. It's probably something looked a bit later down the track, but I'm glad it's come up now.
Of course, it takes a long step, doesn't it, to actually get into the squad, because there's an awful lot of senior players there, but it's the starting rung, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm not getting carried away with myself, you know. I'm only in the squad and I haven't represented my country yet, so, but hopefully that will come.
It's a great privilege as well to be among such a squad of quality players, and you learn a lot from them and from the coach and staff, and so it's just a great experience for us both really, and we'll just try and learn as much as we can and learn from this experience.
Yeah, it's always better when we're together.
So that's who's in, but what many people seem to be commenting about is who's out.
If you change your mind,
there's no place for Lee Briers in Brian Noble's plans. Training's over, but Briers is still out on the pitch, practising kick after kick after kick. Practice, he knows, makes perfect, because he's arguably the form halfback in Super League right now. Not that he'll take the glory away from the team.
It's coming together and all the boys are reading me and I'm reading them. And it's quite easy when they're running to holes and they're running to where the kick's going to go, because I've only got to put it there. So it's mainly them what I do. Most of the work I'm just putting it there for them to go on to.
Wouldn't it be lovely to do that for Great Britain?
It would be, but probably they could be far off that.
Why do you think?
I'm just not in the frame, and that's the way they want to go, and good luck to them. Hope they do well at the end of the year, but I'm just going to play well for them.
And it's skills like this that have led many to ask the question, why he's outside that frame? Clearly a bright talent, and one man who knows talent when he sees it is the former Great Britain coach Malcolm Reilly.
Offensively, he's very good. He's got a very good offensive game, organisational skills, leads the team around the park. His awareness and vision is exceptional, and he's an excellent kicking game. But I'm not quite sure about his defence. I don't think it's as strong as possibly the people who are making the decisions would like, and lacks a little bit of pace at times.
He can handle himself in defence, and if you don't believe me, ask Leslie Vanacola, Stuart Fielden, Marcus Bai, Ala Lawatite, Jamil Fakir, all those who have spent the last 3 games trying to run over Lee Briers and stand on his head, and it's not worked because he can handle himself and he's smart. So, but you know, that's my only contribution. He's not in because his defence isn't as good as Sean Long's or Paul Deakins or Yestin Harris or Danny Orr or Richard Horn or whoever else is in the frame to play halfback for Great Britain.
I think he's up there with some of the best in the game. I mean, his kicking game is outstanding. Short, little chips over the top, across the line to the corner, drop goals, field position. You wonder why he's not been considered.
Do you think he should be in the squad?
It's not my... I wouldn't like to say, but certainly he's a quality player, and any international coach should be looking at those qualities and thinking that they would cause Australia, New Zealand, a lot of problems.
Would you have put him in?
Oh, look, I really don't know. I don't know what his attitude's like, how committed he is. I'm not that close to the player, so I'd like to know a lot more about him before I made a decision of that magnitude.
Why do you think you're not getting picked?
I don't know, you tell me. It's just the way Brian wants to go at the moment, and he's got plenty of good halfbacks in the squad. There's Danny Maguire, he's a young lad, and hopefully they're going for the future. Rob Burrows, Paul Deacon, they've got plenty of quality there, so they're not lacking in there, and good luck to them.
They do. He has said that talent is not as important as attitude. Do you think that's where the problem lies?
I don't know, he's never coached me before, so how does he know that? And so it's like I say, it's his choice, and I've got no grudges with Brian Noble or anybody else. Like I say, my job's at Warrington Wolves, and all I want is win a trophy with Warrington Wolves, and what comes after that is a massive bonus.
Will you still go out there and play to impress the Great Britain selectors?
I'll go to impress Paul Cullen. I'll go to impress Warrington Wolves, and that's about as far as it goes.
It's 5 years since Warrington last beat St Helens, and if Briers can guide the Wolves to a win tonight, he'll do his chances of international selection no harm at all.
Yes, the debate rumbles on about Lee Breer's a good game tonight, and he will certainly press his claims. Meanwhile, out on the pitch here at Nosey Road, it's a special night for members of the 1966 Challenge Cup winning side of St Helens. Tom van Vollenhoven there on the left in the grey shirt, and that's Frankie Barrow next to him. And they're all out there doing a parade around the pitch. It's a special celebration because the Flying Springbok, Tom van Vollenhoven, has returned to Nosey Road. We'll go down and join our man on the side now, Bill Arthur. Bill, several changes for both Saints and Warrington tonight. I think you've got the story about those missing stars.
That's right, Eddie. A lot of emphasis on the St Helens changes, but you must remember that there are 6 absentees for the Warrington Wolves as well, and coach Paul Cullen has had to shuffle things round as well. You've got Toa Koe-Love, who's out, Ben Westwood, Chris Bridge, who goes into hospital on Monday for an exploratory operation on his ankle, Simon Grix, who's absent with a dead leg, John Clark suspended, and Rob Parker, who's sitting at home with 2 plates in a fractured cheekbone and feeling very groggy indeed, I understand. He was just getting into great form when he collided with the head of Jamil Fakir in Perpignan last weekend. I should imagine that was pretty painful. Saints have got their problems, as we've already outlined. Paul Wellens hamstring, Willie Talau calf, Francis Melly ankle, Paul Anderson knee, Maury Fasavalu knee injury, Mike Bennett of course out with a shoulder injury, and who is fully fit tonight as well for the St Helens side, because Leon Price was in a lot of trouble with a back injury last week. Jason Hooper picked up a knock as well, so I suspect there are 1 or 2 players out there who aren't operating 100% fit, and the Saints coach admits that he has got one eye on a big fixture ahead.
I've got to admit the Challenge Cup does mess with your head a little bit, being Bradford next weekend and it being a knockout competition. If it wasn't such an important game next weekend, I'd say a couple of boys probably would be able to play.
But it still would leave you with a weakened side.
Oh yeah, but with all due respect, you know, we had a pretty strong team on paper last week and we didn't play well, so we'll be looking to rectify that with a change in attitude.
And you're up against a Warrington side who've got a miserable record here over recent years, but are in great form.
Yeah, I don't know about records. I've seen a lot of records fallen in the time I've been here. I certainly don't think that they'll be intimidated by any record. They will be chock full of confidence in their form, but we're here to make it hard for them.
Paul, what do you make of that Saints lineup with all those changes?
Probably about as much as I make of ours. You know, they've got 4 or 5 out, and so have we. And it won't mean a jot come 8 o'clock when the bell goes. You know, you're not necessarily playing against certain individuals. There's a very established pattern, very established style of football here at St Helens, and you're playing against that more than any 1, 2 or 3 bodies that don't happen to have made the lineup tonight. So, you don't come here and sit back and defend and hope to pinch the game in the last second. You've got to go out and attack and play some football, and that's what we intend to do.
Well, as I just mentioned to Daniel Anderson, Warrington have got a lousy record here, but just at the moment, I should imagine confidence is pretty good to deal with any record that you've got.
I honestly think that our form against St Helens over the last 3 years has been remarkable, considering the difference between both clubs and their establishment as a major force for the vast majority of the Super League era. You know, we're getting closer and we're working very hard to go that next step.
He looks very determined, doesn't he, the Warrington coach Paul Cullen? I think he believes that tonight could be the night for Warrington to end this awful run of 15 attempts without a victory against St Helens. Do you think so, Chris?
I believe so. I think Paul looked quietly confident there. You know, he's come here on a good run of form, and he's looked at the Saints side and said they've got a few out, but so have we, so that levels it up. I think one big loss to Warrington tonight is that John Clark's not playing. You know, he's an important player for Paul and the Warrington team, but you know, I think they're playing with enough confidence and enough spirit in each other that, you know, they could do Saints tonight.
They could. They're on a great consistent run. Phil, there are so many permutations that Daniel Anderson's come up with today. I mean, Wellens was in until about an hour ago. Now he's out. Price comes in. There's no Melly. There's no Talau. All been replaced. Does it matter? Does it matter who occupies the jerseys?
I'll tell you what's fascinating, to see whether he still adopts the same approach that he did at round 4, which was successful when they played at Warrington. He got as many of his small, quick guys in behind the play of the ball and asked them to run as quick as they could at the big Warrington players in the middle of the field, and it helped them really win that game. They sent Warrington back, and Warrington as well, aware of that, need that marker defence to be so tight around the ruck area. That's where St Helens begin to hurt you, around the play of the ball. Whether it's Cunningham or any of the other guys, you have to control that area to have a chance of winning here at Nosey Road.
Well, there's a massive crowd that has travelled. It's only a short distance, to be fair, from Warrington to St Helens, but there is a huge crowd behind the posts over there, and they will travel, Steve-O, full of hope. This, you know, people will be saying this is the time for Warrington if they are going to be a serious contender for the grand final. Tonight's the night.
Yeah, it certainly is. We said it earlier, didn't we, that Paul Cullen perhaps should have prepared for this game as though it is a grand final. It is in many ways, because they've got to really just shed it aside and show that they are real contenders. Won't be easy, because I think they'll miss John Clark as well as suspended hooker, but Mark Gleeson is a very, very able person, and I'm sure that if they can hold them in the forwards. But of course St Helens know they've got this wonderful crowd behind them, and I think they'll throw everything at the Warrington side tonight in the opening 10-15 minutes. Try to keep the ball alive, try to score early points, because once this crowd gets behind the St Helens players, it'll be very, very hard to stop. St Helens on a roll, virtually impossible. Warrington on a roll, but will they turn up?
We shall see. Daniel Anderson, the St Helens coach, said he's not terribly worried about records. He's seen them tumble all over the place in his time. Well, one record certainly tumbled last week at Huddersfield. St Helens' unbeaten record. They have lost their 100% start to the season. Can they maintain their unbeaten home record? Well, you shall find out if you stay exactly where you are. Super League on a Friday night, and it's St Helens, the league leaders, against fourth place Warrington, the most attractive match of the weekend here at Nosey Road, and we're live with you tonight. And the Saints still smarting from losing their first game of the year at Huddersfield last Saturday, so their hopes of going through the season unbeaten have gone west. They're aiming to maintain their faultless home record, though, against a team that invariably struggles at Nosey Road. Warrington have lost their last 15 league and cup visits to this ground since winning a First Division match by 21 points to 11 in January 1994. And this is a team that Saints hope will maintain that awful record for Warrington. Leon Price operating at fullback, no Paul Wellens. Gardner, Lyon, Vinnie Anderson, no Willie Talau, and there is no Francis Melly, so Ian Hardman plays on the wing. Jason Hooper covers Price's absence at standoff, and Sean Long is there at scrum half. Up front it's Fozzard, Cunningham and Kalis, Gilmore, Wilkin and Sculthorpe the captain. Not too many changes there. And on the bench, Roby, Graham, young Paul Clough and even younger Matty Smith. The coach is Daniel Anderson. Now Warrington, 4 straight wins behind them, 6 out of the last 7 in Super League. Reardon at fullback, Farfili, Martin Gleeson, Gross and Barnett. Breers captains the side alongside Michael Sullivan. The forwards, Lightfall, Mark Gleeson, John Clark is out, he's suspended. Rahihi, Logan Swan, Mike Wainwright second row, and Ben Westwood is the loose forward. And on the bench it's Mark Hilton, Paul Noon, Paul Wood and young Andy Braycheck. The coach, Paul Cullen. So a big night for Lee Breers as he leads the Warrington team out. If he has a good game tonight against Leon Price, Sean Long and company, well, it presses his claims even further for a tilt at Great Britain. But the big question this year is, will that come? Paul Sculthorpe, the St Helens skipper, he knows they face Bradford in the Cup next weekend. That's a massive match in terms of their Twickenham ambition, and they do have a 4-point cushion at the top of the Super League table. So perhaps that has some bearing, as Daniel Anderson was saying, on the way his team has lined up here tonight. There is the St Helens coach, and he is the match referee, Richard Silverwood, who's been in great form this year as well. And let's hope that he is in good fettle here tonight. Atmosphere is electric. Thousands of Warrington fans are amongst the crowd. And Steve-O, it's a balmy summer's evening. It's arrived at last. We're in shirt sleeves. Great game in prospect.
Certainly is, and the forwards will want to get at each other as quickly as possible. As just mentioned in the studio there, I get the impression that Saints will throw the ball around very quickly. They'll try to get points on the board, completely demoralise the opposition. Remember, they have not won here for a long, long time.
Sean Long's boot then gets us underway, and he puts the kick off deep into the corner. It's collected by Michael Wainwright, he gives it to Sullivan, and the St Helens charge from the kick-off, led by Nick Fozzard, and Paul Rahihi had nowhere to go. Remember the display that Rahihi put in last time we saw Warrington on Sky Sports, the home match against the Leeds Rhinos. He was sensational that afternoon. Paul Cullen, the coach of the Warrington Wolves, he took charge 2 weeks after they lost 72-2 here, and he has gradually got his side closer and closer over the last few years. 2003 wasn't much better, 56-6. 2004, 28-8. 2005, 31-30. Can he claim the win now? Well, the kick from Breers sails high and finds, well, I was going to say, it went out on the full.
Must have hit the whitewash. Obviously a planned move, not attempting to kick deep downfield.
I think we should give some credit to the guy who put the pressure on him, really, didn't it? In the past, if the kicker like Breers is given time, he's able to put the ball exactly where he wants it. But that defensive effort from Saints to get up in his face, we saw it back in round 4, again starting that way.
Nick Fozzard for St Helens, once of Warrington. He drives it in, and St Helens have got a penalty.
High shot. Wants to keep them down. Wainwright just a little bit over the shoulders. Van there, saw it quite clearly.
Wainwright was high, and St Helens decide to go for the first points of the evening from the first penalty. Daniel Anderson has respect for the opposition, and this will be, it should be, a gift against Paul Cullen's Warrington for Jamie Lyon.
That surprises me, it really does. I thought that they would be able to keep this ball alive, especially when the nerves are going through the body of the Warrington outfit. The one thing that Warrington can't afford to do, and I hope that Paul Cullen has got it through to them, is that they can't just hang back.
Lyon kicks the goal successfully. He's been out for the past couple of matches with an eye infection. And, well, the St Helens fans with something to shout about early on.
Getting back to that Warrington attitude, it's just that we know the quality, and those 4 on the trot will have built their confidence. But they've got to show their skill factor tonight. They can't just try to contain Saints. They've got to show that they've got quality as well.
Long is underneath the kick-off. Here again is Fozzard, and Sullivan was high then.
Certainly was. Fozzard, second one right in the bush.
I beg your pardon, it was Brent Gross, not Michael Sullivan. Brent Gross was a bit high. Referee gave him benefit of the doubt. Here now is Leon Price for St Helens.
I think the way you see him lining up, Price is actually playing at standoff. Hardman has dropped to fullback, so there almost is a direct clash between Price in the Great Britain squad and Breers, who's not at the moment.
This is Kieran Cunningham. Young Mark Gleeson gets to him first. They know the danger that Cunningham poses running from dummy half. It's the last tackle here for St Helens. And Long will just drift the kick over the top. It bounces a few times and then into the arms of Stuart Reardon. Well, there's some glittering stars out there tonight. It will be a difficult job for the gentlemen of the press to come up with the man of the match, but that's their task. And here's their spokesman, Dave Hadfield.
Sean Long's back tonight, of course, after being rested, rotated, or whatever you call it at Huddersfield. Without him at the end, he didn't have that get-out-of-jail card. We all talk a lot about how importantly Breers is to Warrington, but Michael Sullivan's pace off the mark could be a big factor tonight. Another player that Saints missed badly at Huddersfield was Jason Kalis. He's back from Kiwi duty up against his fellow countryman Paul Rahihi. He's made a big difference for Warrington since he's re-emerged.
Well, that's the second kick from Lee Breers, and the second kick that's sailed out on the full. Not the start that Lee Breers would have wanted. He was looking for a 40-20. It was on the whitewash first time, and it's about a foot the wrong side of the whitewash this time, and his coach looks very stern.
Well, they've thrown the gauntlet down early. He's shown his hand in regards to what they wanted to do. Naturally, they would after the 40-20 to get more possession in the opposition half.
As it is, it's St Helens who have the ball with Gilmore.
Oh, shocking.
The pass was out wide here looking for Vinnie Anderson, and all it did was almost find the touch judge. Not a great pass from Lee Gilmore. Chris Radlinski, nearly 5 minutes gone. Early impressions.
Yeah, like Steve, I was surprised that St Helens went for 2 points earlier on. Maybe that's a sign how they've matured under Daniel Anderson. Want to get some points on board. One battle I'm going to be interested in tonight is young Ian Hardman at fullback. Obviously no Paul Wellens. I just want to see how he handles Lee Breers' kicking game, because you know when I played, it certainly put me under a lot of pressure. So I'll be watching that one.
It's a penalty to Warrington. St Helens record offside at the scrum. They moved up far too quickly.
Well, they'd be very relieved with Lee Breers with the fact that that's his second kick that went out in the full. They've got what they needed, and that is good field position.
It's with Wainwright, and it's Mark Gleeson at dummy half. And Gleeson gives it to Sullivan, and Sullivan is over for the first try for Warrington. Try is given. Jamie Lyon appealing, asking the referee to go to the video, but he and his touch judge convinced that the ball was touched down legally, and so Michael Sullivan has come up with the first try of the night. The scrum half from Australia, who was with Cronulla last year, gets the first try.
Well, we thought we'd miss John Clark, but Mark Gleeson has certainly filled in superbly there. Through the dummy, went on the blind side. You can see he just pulled Lyon into an invidious situation where he didn't know whether to go left or right. That was sufficient for him to go through the break, and Sullivan finishes it off.
Well, both of these sides score a third of the tries originating in penalties. That's why it's so important in the modern game. It's put Warrington into a position 15 metres from the St Helens line with which they have the players with the skill, vision and ability to convert into points. First try to Warrington.
Michael Sullivan, 25 years of age. He missed the last 2 wins against Leeds and the Catalan Dragons, but he's come up with the opening try here, and now Lee Breers to try and add the extras. Formerly with St Helens, of course, in 1997. Only 6 appearances for the Saints. Oh, and he's missed with the kick at goal. Well, Lee Breers, he's certainly the man under the microscope tonight, and perhaps there are nerves there. That was a poor kick.
Certainly pressure, but the pass wasn't from Mark Gleeson. There you can see he should have been Sculthorpe's man, but Jamie Lyon comes into it. Look at the gap that was left for the halfback. Sullivan took full advantage. Great try.
Great try from Sullivan. It could be a costly miss from Lee Breers. 4-2, Warrington lead. St Helens about to restart when Sean Long gets the ball correctly placed on top of the kicking tee. Well, Warrington ended the losing sequence at Wigan in March. They outscored Leeds 8 tries to 3 on May the 1st. Can they now claim a first ever win at Knowsley Road? Out on the fall from Sean Long. Well, kicking tonight, what's going on? Is there too much air in the ball or what?
No, it's just pressure, Eddie. That's what it's all about. A lot of people last week, well, the major reason was that Saints didn't fire at Huddersfield was because he was missing. And the pressure is on him. Okay, the publicity has been around Lee Breers, but they want to get back into winning ways. But Warrington, that try will have done them absolute wonders for their confidence.
They're 8 metres away here now, and it's Sullivan once again trying to poach one from dummy half. And St Helens tackle him. And remember last week, Carl Kirkpatrick didn't shout held for Wigan, and they let the man go, and he scored. That was the Castlewood Tigers. Here tonight, I think we will see the man being put on the ground and held and jostled each and every time before the call comes. It's Lightfall, and he finds Breers, and Breers is tackled by Leon Price.
Not surprisingly, they'll be looking for each other tonight. Whoop.
Mark Gleeson almost losing that. That's the last tackle for Warrington. It's Logan Swan and Breers. A little chip over the top looking for Farfili in the air, but it is claimed, and brilliantly claimed also, by A.D. Gardner.
Great jump by the winger, it had to be as well, but it was applied the pressure on that short blind side by Lee Breers. Plenty men in there, but the man that took it was confident, was Gardner.
He's swapped wings, hasn't he, Steve-O? Played most of the season on the right side, now shifted over to the left for this match, and Saints, well, they're trying to bring it now to the right wing with Vinnie Anderson standing there.
Yes, it's a mixture of players by Daniel Anderson tonight. All over the shop they are compared to normal. This is Kalis.
I don't know why he does it. They're playing so well.
Well, injury, Steve, will have played the part.
Yeah, I realise that, but sometimes the wingers switching with the centres nearly every time. Remember last week we saw Paul Wellens, the full-back, going in and loose forward in the pack. What's happening?
Henry Farfili flicks the ball to Richie Barnett. He's halted by Fozzard. Mark Gleeson. Now Ben Westwood gets to halfway for Warrington on the third tackle. Mark Gleeson and Sullivan again tries to go inside the defender, but Jamie Lyon was up to that. This is Mark Gleeson once more, playing from the start tonight.
He's causing them all sorts of problems as well. Very wicked to play the ball area.
Logan Swan, flicked wide by Gleeson, wasn't forward. Farfeely has it.
Oh, he's pulled it back.
Oh, well, he was an age late there with that call.
Well, I know they've got to combine the touch judges there, but that looked all right. You can see that the man has actually gone over the line. What's this? That went backwards.
First clear! Hold!
Well, eventually the call came from the touch judge. It was a forward pass. That's why St Helens are in possession, and Warrington caught offside. Too quick out the block, says Mr. Silverwood.
Bit of hesitation at the play of the ball. No hesitation from the man with the whistle.
Listen to me, can't go!
Paul Cullen will be our guest at Wakefield tomorrow for the Wakefield-Wigan match. Be very interesting to hear his view of this game. Probably keep it private though. It's Cunningham who finds Long to Leon Price. Leon Price back to Long. Good movement from St Helens. Short ball.
Well spotted there by Martin Gleeson. Knew that it was on a little switcher back on the inside. Both sides wanted to play this very short blind.
Long and Price will attack the Warrington line. Won't go past Likevall. And Paul Wood is there as well. This is Cunningham. Now it's Long again. Attacks the line once more. Logan Swan and Likevall there to snuff the danger out. That's the last tackle. Cunningham waits. Will give it to Paul Sculthorpe. Here's the kick into the corner. A tester here for Richie Barnett. Oh no, it isn't. It's far too deep. Well, I think we got a word from Bill Arthur on the sideline a few minutes ago. I got it in my ears. Don't know whether you heard it, fellas. There's a very strong wind suddenly blowing up at the back of St Helens tonight.
Players that have been out there, Eddie, during the warm-up, and they're reduced to the conditions. They've forced a mistake though. That states it the best. They come up with a play and let the pressure off themselves by the poor kick by Sculthorpe. But look at that defensive effort there. Forced the ball out, and the referee said mistake by Chris Likevall, and a perfect opportunity now for the Saints. Scrum 20 metres from the opposition line.
The referee says that was a knock-on on impact, but the ball shot backwards.
Yeah, never mind. It's always a 50-50 call.
Here is Long. He showed it to Wilkin, gave it instead to the ginger-haired Ian Hardman. It's his 40th appearance for the Saints, this is Jason Hooper.
Good ploy there. You see St Helens running into the same hole as where the referee had gone.
Long fires the pass, Gilmore, and Breers got to him. Important tackle by Lee Breers that. Here is Sean Long again. Fossard's on the charge.
Oh, great defence.
Wonderful. Likevall and Paul Wood playing at the top of his game this year, Wood. Ball goes to ground, eventually bounced into the arms of Ian Hardman. And that's the last tackle. If Warrington can weather this storm, they'll gain some confidence from it. It's with Long now, left-footed to the corner. Henry Farfeely out there. The ball though is claimed by Lee Gilmore.
I
think Gilmore has got the try.
They'll check to see if he's onside first.
Onside, offside.
Now when you see Sean Long getting this ball, there is not one Warrington player put him under pressure. Look at that. Anybody at home? No. You've got to apply some sort of pressure. They're just hanging back. Let's see what he's going to do with a kick. But that means he can virtually kick it to pinpoint accuracy. This is try time. No doubt about this. Bang. That's TR1. Forget about the ball slipping on the impact.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant by the Saints side there. To stay onside and take that kick and score. Christian Linsky, what about skill?
Yeah, you know, Gilly's not really renowned for catching balls like that, but he did everything right against Henry Farfeely, who's outstanding under the high ball. You know, didn't so long make that look so easy.
Try for Lee Gilmore, try for St Helens. And Long had so much time to pick the spot, but the important thing for St Helens was that Gilmore timed his run to perfection. back in the side after missing the defeat at Huddersfield last week.
Well, look at them hanging back. Said, oh, well, we'll give him a free kick. That's a sally. That's a great take, though, and a good finish. Watch the shield as well. There were more St Helens players there than Warrington. They got through it. Not so sure that Eddie Garda didn't impede anybody, but it was a wonderful, wonderful effort.
Time attacking your opponent's line pays dividends in rugby league. Eventually the kick from long did that. There's a temptation sometimes for defenders to just relax when it comes to fifth tackle and hope that the wingers and fullback are going to deal with it. And that gave him the time, but Gilmore's skill was fantastic, made up for that poor pass.
Yes, Lee Gilmore, the grand final with Wigan in 1998. He won the cup with the Bradford Bulls in 2003. And here's Jamie Lyon to try and add the extra two. He's already scored tonight with a penalty. And Jamie Lyon makes no mistake. And the Saints are ahead by 8 points to 4.
No one wanted to know what Mr. Long was going to do. He could have made a cup of tea, baked a couple of scones, and then still got the ball away. Take nothing away from the man that took the ball. Fabulous take.
Eddie, the perfect kick on the last tackle is for it to come down just a metre this side of the try line, which is exactly where Sean Long put it. That's fantastic skill under pressure.
That's a great chase from Warrington from the kick-off. Hazard couldn't make any progress. Here is Kalis. He was playing last week, of course, for the Kiwis against Australia in the Anzac Test. Let's go down to Bill Arthur on the sidelines. Two sides coming into the match short of numbers, and a problem with Paul Rahihi, Bill, yeah?
That's what it's looking like as I speak. He's come back out of the dressing room. He went straight off the field and has had a back problem, back spasm by the sound of things. He's been into the dressing room for a bit of manipulation, but he is back out and is just pacing up and down the sidelines menacingly. So perhaps there is hope that Paul Rahihi, who's been in great form in recent weeks, will be able to be back on the pitch soon.
Well, he's very important for the Warrington Wolves, there's no doubt about that. This is Westwood for Warrington. They trail by 8 points to 4. The Saints, remember, beat Warrington 18-10 at the Halliwell Jones Stadium in March. It was snowing that night. Rahihi didn't play that night. He was suffering from hamstring problems. And they got away with that little fumble, Warrington. Logan Swan has the ball for his team, but that's tackle number 5. Now, watch the kick here, this time from Michael Sullivan. Goes straight up in the air. Well played by Ian Hardman. James Graham, I beg your pardon. No, Ian Hardman it is.
Good position as well by Hardman. Now Warrington just, for a couple of moments there, they looked a little bit like stunned rabbits. They've got to get themselves back in. Good positioning. Another young fella.
Here's Sculthorpe, Paul Sculthorpe. 140 points against his former club. He moved here in 1997. It was a record deal for a forward in those days. Here's Long now. Drifts the kick over the top, looking for the sideline and finds it. And they will hunt the mistake from the scrum, courtesy of the boot of Long.
Smart thinking. This is what was missing from the Saints side last week. And he knows it as well.
It was the difference, wasn't it? They kept kicking the ball over the dead ball line. 20-metre restarts, took the pressure off Huddersfield. I think as the grounds get harder, players just kick the ball a bit softer. They know it's going to bounce and roll on.
Well, Daniel Anderson, he led the Saints at the back end of last year to the top of the table, but didn't make it to Old Trafford. It still stings in this part of the world. It was Leeds and Bradford in the showpiece. Here is Michael Sullivan, that's a good run. And it was a high tackle on him by Lyon, I think.
Great little scamper there from the halfback Sullivan. Yep. Certainly a stray hand went into the face. Well, then they've got to produce something. Not just use the forwards barging through. We haven't seen Breers come to do anything out wide, just before the centres. They've got the blind side.
Here's Sullivan again, he's found Brent Gross. Tries to go round Sean Long, couldn't do that. Michael Sullivan's in there at dummy half. This now is Paul Wood, who is in the Great Britain squad. and deservedly so as well. Mark Gleeson, Sullivan, here is Breers. Gets the pass away to Westwood. Westwood is halted by 3.
Keep up the face.
Logan Swan, and Breers again dabs the kick in, looking for Michael Sullivan. Oh, how was that from Jamie Lyon? Caught it between his thighs and ran on.
It was a good kick as well, but great positional play by the centre. Man of Steel last year, Jamie Lyon. He took that, didn't he? It was an awkward ball.
He's a great player, and rumours persist, of course, that he is on his way back home to Australia, the end of his contract here at the end of this season. Saints still hope he might have a change of heart and stay here. He hasn't said anything publicly yet. James Graham.
Well, I know his manager is still negotiating with both St Helens and evidently a couple of clubs down in Australia. We'll have to wait and see. It's a good kick.
It's a great kick. And that was off the legs of Reardon, and he can turn defence into attack here. Good tackle though by Long.
They were looking to get away with that. Reardon was all over the shop, didn't know what was happening, never even made an attempt with it. It could have been a try at the other end. Oh, that will not give them confidence when your fullback takes a look at the ball like that.
Good leg drive from Paul Wood.
And if you could win an award for the best 20 minutes to start a match, I'd give it to Paul Wood. He's been immense.
Breers trying to jink his way through, couldn't get past the defence there. And they're having a little word with each other there, John Wilkin and Lee Breers. Here is Michael Sullivan. That was touched by a St Helens hand. That was touched by a Saints hand. It's back to 0 in the tackle count anyway. And Barnett has picked it up on the bounce. The referee wipes the tackle count down. Has the call got to the players? I think it has now. It's with Wainwright. 6-all at Headingley. I think you might have seen the bottom of your screen a moment ago. This is Mark Gleeson. He's hauled back. Leeds and Hull at Headingley. Saints and Warrington here at Knowsley Road. And it's with Gross, who floats the ball to Sullivan, who finds Lee Breers. It goes wide to Martin Gleeson. He gives it quickly to Farfili. Farfili lets the ball go forward because he knew he was on his way out.
No advantage, he'll put the scrum down. Great defence by Saints.
Best defence in the competition we're seeing here.
Certainly was. And the way that Gardner, he came in because he knew that Price was going outside wide. Oh, great combination.
Only 27 tries scored now against St Helens this season. That's where they've got the edge. In attacking terms tonight, it's very similar. 65 tries scored for St Helens before this evening, 63 for Warrington. So it's 66 and 64 right now.
Well, that looked a high shot. They got away with it. I must say, it's been quite hot today, and it's humid conditions, and I think it's taken its toll.
Here comes James Graham again, outstanding against Warrington last March. Westwood and Wilkin tangling.
We haven't seen anything from Cunningham yet, running from dummy half. He's quite happy just to farm it out. Will we see something shortly?
Last tackle here, and Cunningham is the dummy half. He gives it to Long. There's the kick again, a little drifter over the top, looking for the sideline. Farfili not interested, allows it to trickle its way over. Good kicking from Long, purely and simply for territory.
That's what it's all about. You know that Warrington are a little bit jittery. You don't have to rush things. That's the one thing you've got to say about Daniel Anderson since he's come to this St Helens club. He's been able to calm things down. In the past, St Helens, they're likely to do anything.
Yes, they certainly seem to be a little more disciplined, don't they, this year, and their defence has been outstanding from the very first day of the season.
I'm okay with it.
He's the guy that Warrington will be looking for, Martin Gleeson. He has done a lot of damage to this St Helens defence, and that's a bad high shot, and he knows it.
Another Warrington penalty.
It's unlike Saints. You give away silly possession and position like that.
I was surprised, Steve, when I looked through this week. Only the Tigers have given away more penalties than Saints this season. The record isn't good, you know. Far too many penalties, I'm sure, for their own liking.
Hull ahead at Headingley. Here at Knowsley Road, it's with Michael Sullivan for Warrington in centre field. Mark Gleeson. Like volleys his runner on his shoulder, and he bounced away from Cunningham's would-be tackle, held on. Mark Gleeson there again. They come this way once more with Sullivan. Quick hands to Gross. Gross does brilliantly under pressure from Vinnie Anderson to hang on. Sullivan scampering down the short side. Barnett went without the ball.
That should have been try time. He just came a little bit too early. Sullivan did everything. Maybe Sullivan could have gone on his own, who knows? Oh, he'd done everything right. He had sucked in Paul Sculthorpe, and I'm afraid Barnett had just overrun it. That is a golden opportunity. Playing well, playing with a lot of confidence now is Michael Sullivan. Took him a while to settle into the style of Super League.
Well, it's now a little warmer than it was when he arrived.
I think the pitch being harder helps him as well. He's a player who likes to scoot as quickly as he can. Any gaps there, as the markers start to tire, he's going to become devastating in the second half of this game.
24.5 minutes gone, Chris Radlinski. It's a dangerous time for the players now. They'll be just blowing a little bit, won't they? It's a warm night, as Steve-O says.
Yeah, it is a warm night. I think Warrington is certainly highlighting St Helens right-hand defence. You know, Vinnie Anderson's on the wing, and he's not really played there before. And you know, Michael Sullivan's made a number of little breaks down this side.
Good defence from Warrington in centre field on Leon Price. Here is Long again, left-footed once more. The kick this time not the best, although the bounce did its best to beat Farfili.
Well, they obviously feel that Henry Farfili is a bit of a weak spot. Remember, that's the way that Gilmore scored the try. Out jumped Farfili with considerable ease.
Reardon felt that tackle from Adi Gardner. This is Farfili again, tackled by Wilkin.
Well, he should have realised then. Momentum had stopped. Wilkin was hanging on. In fact, if it had just tried to play the ball instead, probably would have got a penalty the other way around, because Wilkin was hanging on. Just a lack of composure. Another one to put down on his list.
I think the players all saw our match last Friday on Sky Sports when Carl Kirkpatrick seemed reluctant to shout held. Mind you, that was a clear case that the ball-carrying arm hit the deck.
Yeah.
Tackle was completed. Here is James Graham again. It's with Sean Long and Paul Sculthorpe. Long again. Back it comes to Leon Price. Nearly lost that. In fact, he has lost it.
Yeah. He came a little bit too lazy on the inside, and it was the impact from Sullivan that knocked it from his grasp. That's good play. Well spotted by the official as well, Richard Silverwood.
Stay in, Ian.
Selected tonight, Leon Price at full back, but as Phil Clark has already alluded to, he is playing at the standoff position. Got plenty of work.
St Helens champions in 1996 and 2002 when they topped the table. They did the same thing last year but missed out on the playoffs. Champions also in 1999 and 2000, the Saints. They really have been one of the leading lights of Super League since it came into being 11 seasons ago.
Well, they'll be buoyed with this with Warrington. You know, they've been put under pressure quite a few times. Themselves in a good position at St Helens, but their defence has hung on, even though there's still 4 points adrift.
Kick from Sullivan is gobbled up in defence by Ian Hardman.
Good chase.
Sculthorpe finds Jamie Lyon underneath his own sticks. They give it some width here. Well, they're chancing their arm. That's defensive tackle from Martin Gleeson. Gardner. Strong run again from Gardner. They've suddenly upped the ante, St Helens. They've pressed the overdrive button. Can Warrington hang on to them? Cunningham. Long. Hooper. Good hit from Gross. That's the last one. Saints aren't over halfway. They might be here with the kick from Long. Right down the throat, though, of Stuart Reardon.
Poor kick. We've seen that Stuart Reardon made a real mess of a high bomb, surprisingly. Sean Long didn't opt for that.
Leeds are in a bit of a hole against Hull. 18 points to 6. Hull are ahead at Headingley here at Knowsley Road. 28.5 minutes, 8-4.
Eddie, it's become a real test of the players' fitness here now and the physical approach to it. Both sides in this arm wrestle, fighting away to get to the other end and find that mistake inside the opponent's half.
Wainwright.
It's very basic rugby league football from Warrington. One out, flat pass from the dummy half, but it's effective. They're getting in a good position. Here's the kick.
It's a high hanging kick from Lee Briers. Leon Price underneath this. Oh, he's knocked it on. Well, that was knocked on and hit a St Helens player and went back to him.
Accidental offside, surely.
Well, it was certainly a knock on. Surely a knock on. Yes.
Price got a hand to it, and
it was offside as well.
Look at he won't get away with that.
I don't know whether it was so accidental looking at that, actually. How do we see things and the officials lose it? Oh, Mel now then, hang on.
Played back by the Warrington
arm. That's a great decision from the referee and touch judge. Terrific.
I'm sure apology.
Apologies
very much so. Yeah. Another high kick, this time from Sean Long. Farfeely claims it. And the tackle by young Matty Smith. 18 years of age, Matty Smith. Long is all round the legs of the Warrington man.
But even then he wasn't confident, was he? Henry Farfeely, the way that he took that ball, it was about 6 inches off the ground.
Here he is again, the New Zealand winger. Good defence here from St Helens now. Needs something special maybe from Martin Gleeson, but St Helens know all about him.
That's 4 clear!
I think if you've been out there now for half an hour, Eddie, you want to hope that some of your teammates who've just come off the bench can make a difference. Saints have just brought on James Roby, and we've seen what devastating effect. And Matty Smith over playing on that left side now. The speed of those two guys out of acting half-back, can that find some gaps now in what's been a very impressive Wolves defence?
And that was a good take by Aidy Gardner, but a good chase led by Mark Gleeson and Ben Westwood.
Well, again, we haven't seen the radar getting right from Lee Briers in his kicking game yet.
Here's Roby. One of those destructive runs from dummy half. Roby!
Oh, should have passed.
Maybe he will now, and he does. Finds Matty Smith, who finds Lee Gilmore, and Gilmore goes in for the second try. What a wonderful piece of skill from little James Roby. And even though perhaps the pass was a couple of seconds later than it might have been, they still had the men flooding up in numbers. Matty Smith handed it on to Lee Gilmore, and Gilmore scores his second St Helens try.
Very poor defence from Chris Lightfoot. They're very tired to play the ball. First and second markers take nothing away. I thought he'd blown it, James Roby. Should have passed on the first occasion, but they had support, and Gilmore goes in for the brace of tries. Far too easy, but that just shows you the ability of having so much skill and power when you bring them off the bench. Good work from Daniel Anderson, the coach.
Great example here of the support play, really. We know that Saints are a fast side, but there's evidence in this try that shows they've gone 70 metres because of the interpassing from 3 players. Supporting as hard as you can, the man with the ball. James Roby made the break, and it was a fantastic try. Just found that killer play. Both teams putting pressure on one another. Eventually Warrington cracked.
Well, he's been a highly influential substitute this year, James Roby, and that was a wonderful piece of skill from him. And Jamie Lyon just adds the extras with nonchalant ease. 14-4 to Saints. Gilmore's try, second of the night for him. But how about the run from Roby?
Fully deserved. Shows you the quality, but Lightfoot will not like to see that yet again, and neither will his coach, Paul Cullen. When you're standing in the first or second marker position, you do not try to knock someone's head off. You've got to make sure at least you get his upper torso or the legs. He did neither.
I think Paul Cullen's recognised the fatigue factor there on his side. He's just made 3 substitutions, Eddie, to restart the match. Hilton's come on, Braycheck's come on, and Paul Noon, 3 forwards now to try and show up the tiring defence.
Yes, and this is danger time for every team that faces St Helens. In the 6 or 7 minutes immediately before half-time, Saints can win a match in the twinkling of an eye, and that's what they're aiming to do here. And can Warrington hang on to them?
Big problems for Hooper. St Helens standoff tonight is picked up a knock. Even a bit of treatment in back play.
Last tackle here for Saints. There's Sculthorpe's kick crossfield into the space between Reardon and Farfeely, but it's too deep.
Well, Paul Cullen will be a little bit grieved by the fact he didn't make that substitution just before they scored that try, because you can see there that Chris Lightful, the prop forward, obviously struggling. Been a fast pace and been some pretty big hits out there.
And that was Barnett. He got the ball away to Sullivan. Sullivan caught them all by unawares, and good job that Mark Hilton was alert to the fact. Here is Sullivan again.
They've got to watch and realise that if someone's looking to keep the ball about, you haven't got to just look to get yourself into a position for the next play of the ball. You've got to support it.
Mark Gleeson again. Wainwright showed the ball to Brent Gross. Took the tackle in the end from James Graham. Here is Sullivan. He's away from Lyon. That's not the best. Oh, not bad. It bounced off the post. Worked for Price to do, but he does it. He does it brilliantly.
They're on the rack to the Warrington side, and they've given away a silly penalty.
Paul Noon.
And that shows you a side that is grasping at straws. Everybody knew that it was going to be a kick, but look at them. They were so slow to get there. The pace of this game was just completely... Breers, a very poor attempt. And not surprisingly, the second effort by Noon has given away the penalty.
Hazard with a run straight at the chest of Paul Noon. Here is Roby again. And Roby showed it to two, flicked it then to Matty Smith. Smith was halted by the tackle from Brent Gross. It's Sculthorpe for St Helens.
Getting over the advantage line as well, St. He could quick play the ball as well. It's rewarding them, and no doubt they'll go early for a kick, I would think, and they'll go to Farfeli's corner.
Graham plays the ball to Roby. Here is Long. Goes left and finds Matty Smith. And Kalis gets the ball away to Gilmore. He's on a hat-trick, Gilmore. He gives it though to Aidy Gardner. And Aidy Gardner gets the St Helens try number 3. Gardner touches down for his 10th try of the season. This is his 100th start. And before tonight he hadn't scored in 3 matches. But Aidy Gardner has just done what St Helens do so well, and they just turn the screw just before half-time.
They've dropped in a hole, and Farfeli is having a nightmare. I don't know where he was going. He already had 2 men in position to do the defence, and he comes out of where you're going, and he realises the error, and they're in for a very simple try indeed. He likes it, and rightly so. It's St Helens out of their best, making full advantage of bad positional play.
Well, we see the Saints work up to halfway and then go back to that left side. It's where Lee Breers defends outside of Martin Gleeson. Teams have had success so far this season, and Saints have just confirmed that 10 minutes before half-time, they've been devastating this season. Again, another try in that 10-minute period just before the break.
Aidy Gardner, try scorer, and Jamie Lyon, well, this is his most difficult conversion attempt of the night so far, just a few metres in from touch on that far side. Missed the last 2 games, 2 tries in that dramatic 31-30 win against Warrington here last year, and 3 goals against Warrington in March, 3 already tonight. Check that, make it 4. Doesn't matter where Lyon kicks, he seems to find the mark, and St Helens from 4-2 down lead 20 points to 4, and Paul Cullen with problems.
Certainly has, because he knows they're on their right-hand side. Breers in defence, and Farfeli, where is he going? You've got to mark up man for man. Oh, that was shocking defence, but wonderful quick hands by this Saints outfit. They're running riot, and they've every right to be.
20 points to 4, a couple of minutes before half-time here. And Hull 24-6 after 37 minutes at Headingley against the Leeds Rhinos. Hull, Richard Agar got them going after John Keir's departure, and Peter Sharp has kept them going.
Well, Andy Brecek has just given away another 30 or 40 metres downfield. Sheer desperation. They know they're running out of fuel. He knows that too. They have fallen in one big hole.
Andy Braychek is a former St Helens prop forward, rated one of the best youngsters knocking around, but he has yet to show his potential. Only 19 years of age though, plenty of time left. Now then, a very difficult 1 minute 30 seconds for Warrington. Even more difficult. A wonderful try from Vinnie Anderson. St Helens have almost wrapped the game up in the 10 minutes before half-time. Blistering pace. Pressure has told. And Vinnie Anderson, his 4th try of the year, the New Zealand international. And St Helens, well, it could be an unassailable lead already. 8 minutes before half-time, they turned on the gas. That's the 3rd try.
Well, if you're in Spain, they'll be cutting the ears off the ball and saying it's enough is enough. Wonderful offload by Price. Long on the inside. Vinnie Anderson knew it was there. They're flat on their feet. It was just a simple run around of dummy, but he had the upper body strength to be able to offload back on the inside to Long, who provided and has given these youngsters something to shout about. Yes, they say. Saints are at their best.
Vinnie Anderson with the try. That is the 4th try that the Saints have scored in this first half, and this is about to be the 5th successful kick from Jamie Lyon, and Warrington are in a spot of bother. And Paul Cullen has got to make a big speech when he gets into the dressing room in a minute or two. Lyon has the extras, 26 points to 4. Not sure that there's any time, there isn't. The half-time siren is sounded. It's a merciful relief for Warrington, but for Daniel Anderson's men, it has brought to an end a scintillating spell. 8 minutes from half-time, you could see them visibly lift and inject more pace. Gilmore, Gardner, and then Vinnie Anderson with 3 tries, and Warrington trail. Saints 26, Warrington 4. Well, if you think Super League is good, watch this. It's the first match of State of Origin 2006. New South Wales, Queensland, Wednesday week, 24th of May, 10:30 in the morning on Sky Sports 1. Half-time here at Nosey Road, and St Helens have really got a grip on the match in the last 10 minutes of the first half. They lead by 26 points to 4 after Sullivan's try had put the Warrington Wolves ahead. And it doesn't seem to matter what permutation Daniel Anderson puts out there at Nosey Road, his players respond in front of this vociferous and big crowd. Terrific performance. They weathered all the storm. All right, they conceded a try to Warrington early on, but then with 8 minutes to half-time, you sense that they just upped the pace. And frankly, Warrington had no answer to all of that. Big job for Warrington now to come back in this second half. The game's not over yet, but with St Helens in this mood, they'll be very, very difficult to catch. Chris Radlinski is here with Phil Stevo and me this week. Chris, it's an uphill task for Warrington now.
It is, like you said, when St Helens are in this mood, they just want to play rugby, and they're getting as much joy out of defending their own line as they are as crossing their opponents. So, I find it a real uphill struggle for Warrington to get back into this game.
Yeah, their defence this season, Phil, has been absolutely outstanding. We've always known they're the entertainers, but in 2006 they've added steel, haven't they?
They have, yeah. I mean, Warrington played quite well, but they were able to handle that 30-minute period where it went from end to end, and they had the character to hang on in there, and then they had the speed, which was the difference in that next 10 minutes, really. It was almost a 30-minute battle between two evenly balanced sides, and then the 10 minutes before half-time with the introduction, and that flood of speed that just came on, really, from St Helens. Too much for Warrington to handle. Even though, having said that, I think, ironically, Paul Wood, in my opinion, was the best player in that opening half. Was sensational for the Wolves.
Yeah, maybe he just ran out of steam a little bit towards half-time, but Steve-O, it started brightly enough for Warrington. They led at one stage.
Yeah, they certainly did. Okay, it was 2 bad kicks from Lee Breers, and everyone was a little bit nervous, but it wasn't surprising that they did take the lead. Sullivan was looking very, very sharp indeed. It came from a bad pass from Gilmore, threw it straight in a touch. From the scrum, they got into a very, very good position, and Sullivan did exceptionally well. Then the Sullivan try came through. Look at that. And that was Gardner that's coming onto it. This is the Sullivan. I don't know where that popped up from before, but this is the one we're talking about. They had the opportunity with Barnett that overran it, and then they just ripped him apart. Roby, Phil Clark, he just split them.
I bet the coach down there just couldn't believe it would go that well. He came on, found that gap there, and then enough Saints support players for Gilmore to come through and score his second. On the back of that, Chris, well, it was more Saints stuff.
Yeah, I think Emery Farfield's shot out the line to try and make a big play and not come up with anybody. This is unbelievable play from Lee Gilmore. He's on his hat-trick, yet he's so cool under pressure to put his winger in the corner.
And didn't we enjoy this? Look at this, the simple run around. We haven't seen that for a long time, but the upper body strength, the offload, and the support from Vinnie Anderson. Back on the inside, absolutely superb. St Helens just at their best. BBB, bubble burst Breers, maybe, who knows. Warrington, they've got a very, very hard task in the second 40.
Well, this St Helens side playing some vintage stuff, and I wonder what one of the old boys from 1966 has to say about it all. Tom van Vollenhoven is here as a VIP guest, and he's talking to Bill.
Tom, your first visit for 9 years, I think you're saying. What do you make of the atmosphere and the occasion?
It is a terrific atmosphere. Well, I don't blame the spectators. It's a terrific game. I haven't seen tackling, passing and running onto the ball at full speed like this for I don't know how many years. Not even in rugby union do you see it.
You fancy being on the end of some of these breaks from Sean Long and the like?
Yes, if I can get on the outside, just take his pass and run it in, I wouldn't mind. But I wouldn't like to have played today. They're massive. They're big boys. I mean, we were never that big.
No, you were too quick, though.
No, it doesn't matter. They're going to get hold of you sometime. But I don't know if it's what they eat, what they train. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but the boys are big.
Now, Saints top of the table. They've been going really well. What do you make of the way they're playing?
Well, like I've seen the first half tonight, and if they play like this, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen the other sides, but I can't see anybody beating them. They are really on top of their profession at the moment. The tackling, I don't think they've missed a tackle up to now.
Tom, thanks very much for talking to us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your visit.
No, it's welcome. Thank you very much. It's nice to be back, and thanks for the welcome. Thank you.
Great to see him, Tom van Vollenhoven, one of the true greats of yesteryear. And I hope Bill tells him in a moment or two that actually Huddersfield beat them last weekend. So someone can beat them, but can Warrington get the better of them in the second half? Chris Radlinski, what hope for Warrington in the next 40 minutes?
I think this next 10 minutes is vital. Whether they can hang in there. What is Paul Cullen going to say to them at half-time? Is he going to lay into them? I don't think he will. I think he'll just say, right, let's start the game again. Let's start the game how we've planned all week to start the game, and let's see what they can do. Saints, well, who knows what they can do in this mood. Obviously, the impact of James Roby. Phil said you need impact from your substitutes, and he just concentrated on tired Warrington men and exploited them.
Well, it was a big blow for Warrington when Paul Rahihi had to leave the field injured very early in the piece. I'm not saying that is the difference between the two sides, but it was a big blow for Warrington, and it's just a question now, I think, of how many as far as St Helens are concerned, or is it? Can Warrington mount a second half comeback, the likes of which we saw at Wakefield earlier in the season? Well, they're not playing the Wildcats, That's Wigan's job tomorrow. They're playing the Saints. There's live pay-per-view boxing coming up tomorrow from Boston. It's Louis Calazzo against Ricky Hatton for the WBA welterweight title. And first from Sheffield, Clinton Woods goes up against Jason Delisle for the IBF light heavyweight title. It all starts tomorrow at 10, live only on Sky Box Office. For more information, go to channel 755 or call 08705 800 888. Cable customers, please contact your local operator. Glorious night here at St Helens, and a wonderful night to be a St Helens supporter so far. Saints 26, Warrington 4. And the other score from Headingley, the half-time score between Leeds and Hull, which we haven't given you yet, and it is 24-6 in Hull's favour, half-time there as well. So Hull will leapfrog Warrington in the top 6, but Daniel Anderson's men will restore their 6-point advantage if the scores stay as they are at half-time. We're underway again. Breers with a kick-off. It bounces off the legs of Roby. That nearly caught everybody unawares. This is Andy Braycheck.
Okay, move! Well, a lucky break there from the kick-off, and they need it because they've got to score early to give any chance of they getting back into this game. They were blitzed in the final 10 minutes of that first half, and I'm sure that their coach Paul Cullen would have really given it to them.
Breers gets the pass away and finds Sullivan. He's tackled though by Sean Long. And here is Stuart Reardon. On the charge comes Mark Hilton. Mark Hilton hasn't played too much this season. Crossfield kick, looking for Farfili, and that bounced off Farfili, I think, and it's going to be a 20-metre restart. It was. Farfili got to it first, but couldn't hold on.
Good option by Breers. Turn him around, just try to catch St Helens if they're a little bit cold there. For once, Farfili today got some plenty of height.
I'm reminded, by the way, that Mark Hilton there, number 10, who just ran out to the left of your screen, he is playing his first match for Warrington since March at Wigan.
That was their problem in that final passage of play. They seemed to run out of steam, did Warrington, or neat pass on the inside. Sean Long and Leon Price are just absolutely carving them. They're enjoying it out there.
Here's Matty Smith again, 18 years of age, his full debut at scrum half last week. On the bench tonight, and Long with the high kick, looking for Jamie Lyon. And it was a good job that Michael Sullivan was out there. Here goes Richie Barnett.
Warrington
Wainwright inside to Hilton.
Warrington perhaps at half-time may have got a bit of confidence in as much that, Paul Cullen could have said, look, if we'd have scored that try, remember when Barnett overran it? Oh, that's a penalty, but a bit too vigorous from the prop forward Nick Fozzard. It might have been Sean Long that got the first impact. They went for the scrap, and then Fozzard went for the slam.
Nick Fozzard, who started the last two, also formerly with Warrington in 2002-2003. The St Helens prop forward in the Great Britain squad last year, not selected by Brian Noble this year.
Okay, move!
A lot of players in the remaining weeks of the season will have much to try and prove that Mr Noble has got it wrong.
Second, stand!
Gross, the dummy half for Warrington. Infield it comes to Mark Gleeson. Good diagonal run from Mark Hilton. He plays the ball. That's a looping pass to Lee Breers. Breers to Gleeson, and Gleeson tried to get an impossible pass away.
Sheer panic, no advantage. That's why the referees brought them back.
Who's the knock on from, though? Is it Gleeson or is it St Helens? I think this is going to be head and feet to Warrington, I think.
Is it a better position than
I don't think so, surely.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, the Saints fans don't like it.
And he says, or the touch judge says, that the St Helens defender Gardner played at the ball. That's why the knock-on's been given.
Oh, that's nowhere near it. Gardner didn't know it was even being flicked out. Still, they'll take it. Well, the Warrington Wolves, they need it.
Here is Gleeson. It comes back to Paul Wood. And Wood, well, that's another knock-on. This time by Jamie Lyon, but he had to go for that because the gap had opened up.
Well, he got that one right.
He's gone through an
The centre definitely went for that. They scoop it in.
Eddie, the Wolves have been very good at scoring from scrums this year. Big chance for them now, either Gleeson on the right or wide to the left.
They go left to Sullivan, and further wide they go to Brent Gross. And St Helens muscling up in defence. They're so quick off their line, the Saints. Here goes Sullivan, infield to Wainwright. Wainwright, that's touched again. 6 more to go, is it? Breers has it. Back to 0 in the tackle count. Immense pressure from Warrington. Start of this second half. It's Paul Wood. That's the first tackle, this later set of 6. Mark Gleeson, Hilton, and Sullivan. This now Gross. Lyon doing brilliantly. Sullivan again. And Sullivan takes the tackle. That's the St Helens try line that they are defending. Barnett flings the ball in field to Wainwright. Wainwright to Reardon. Good defence from St Helens, this. Magnificent. Mark Gleeson. Back it comes to Wood. Here is Lee Breers attacking the line. Flicks the pass to Martin Gleeson. There's the backdoor ball to Henry Farfili. And Farfili, I think has he got it down? The referee wants the video referee to check it out.
Let's check that, please. You'll find they kept him, but Farfili's not too confident.
Martin Gleeson was.
He thought so. Well, is this the start of the fight back?
Yes, it is.
They try time for Farfili. He'll be a relieved man. They pinpointed him in the first half. Here comes a TRY.
Henry Farfili gets the try for Warrington. Just what they needed to restore some confidence at the start of this second half. And the 16th try of the season for Henry Farfili. This is his 51st appearance for the Wolves. That's his 43rd try. What a strike rate from the New Zealand international.
Persistence paid off on 3 occasions. St Helens gave them another set of 6 with a knock-on. And Farfili did well. You can see the rain pouring down now. That was a good finish. Well done, Richard Silverwood. He wasn't too sure, went to the screen. Gleeson got the ball away again. Well done. Boy, he needed that.
And Lee Breers with the conversion attempt. And Breers has added the extras for the Warrington Wolves. It's 26 points to 10. St Helens still lead, but the gap is reduced courtesy of Henry Farfili's 43rd try in Warrington's colours. Just what Paul Cullen needed, Phil.
Yeah, the Wolves, they love coming to the right-hand side of the field. They've scored 4 times as many tries on this side with Gleeson and Farfili as they have on the left. Don't be surprised if they continue to come to them. When they've needed to get out of trouble this season, Gleeson and his cohorts on this side have really helped him out, and they'll want to do it again.
Well, it's a million miles away from Wakefield, where they trail 21-0 at half-time, Warrington, but they have been able to put together second-half revivals this year. Hull are blitzing Leeds at Headingley, 36-6.
That's an amazing scoreline.
Hull have only won there once before in Super League, I do believe.
Now then, it needs to be a good kick and chase. Will Breers get back into it? Neat little chip over, he's going to get it.
It bounces all over the show. It's a penalty to Warrington.
Paul Sculthorpe is neat chip over from Breers.
Came off Long's feet. He was in front. Here is Sullivan.
Did well though, did Breers, didn't he? Just get a foot to it. Couldn't get his hands to get the bounce.
Mark Gleeson, the dummy half. Here is Mark Hilton. Warrington can sniff something here. Mark Gleeson once again. Back it comes to Paul Wood. Now it's with Lee Breers. Here they come down this way again. Beautiful ball to Gleeson. Oh, he flicks it to Gilmore.
Well, that's his style. We've got two centres out there, world class, in Martin Gleeson and Jamie Lyon. And everybody knows that ability to carry the ball with one hand and offload. Only on this occasion, it went to Lee Gilmore. That should have been a try.
And one of the advantages Saints have with their squad is that players like Vinnie Anderson and Lee Gilmore have the pace and experience to be able to play at centre. In fact, Anderson even playing at part on the wing here today. That's a great benefit with the depth of squad that Saints have, because when you're under pressure with injuries, you need somebody quick enough to be able to handle Martin Gleeson. In Gilmore, they have that.
Sean Long with a big hoof downfield. And Reardon, it's a knock-on.
No doubt about it, Reard wants to ignore the referee's whistle, and he's got it right, sadly. That is not what they needed.
Is that because the player was running backwards, did it look to go forwards? But I can't see the ball's actually physically
gone backwards.
But it's coming backwards.
It doesn't matter.
It's a reverse momentum rule, is it?
All it has to do, it only has to bounce one forward, and this is what it does. Look.
Chance for St Helens to restore their big advantage, but an awful ball.
Forward pass.
And a forward pass, yes.
Yeah.
Awful ball.
Well, he's not happy, Sean Long. Well, I've just given him a rap, classifying him as one of the greatest centres playing around in the world today.
That's an escape for Warrington.
It certainly is.
No Paul Rahehe out there for Warrington. Wonder if he will return. Bill.
Well, I'll tell you what, Eddie, there's certainly more determination about this Warrington performance in the so far in the second half. It wasn't a paint-stripping job in the Wolves dressing room at half-time, more of a rallying call from coach Paul Cullen, and they seem to have answered that call, but they could do with Paul Rahehe back out there. He's still on the sidelines. He's been stretching and testing that injured back, and they haven't taken a decision yet on whether he can come back. If he could, just now, when they have some momentum, that'd be a big boost.
That's a big call by Richard Silverwood. There was two in attendance, and that looked forward.
No, Hilton lost it. Roby pounced, and here come the Saints in the shape now of James Graham.
Movement!
They're 10 metres away with Roby. Back it comes to Long. Long to Sculthorpe. Halted Paul Sculthorpe by rigorous defence from Gleeson. Here is Matty Smith. Took that in the air, spun 360 degrees, nobody there to take the pass. Vinnie Anderson directing traffic, bottom of the screen, but they go the other way with Roby. And Roby, still going Roby, and in the end, Warrington pull him down the last, but they're just 2 metres shy of the line. Poor ball again from Leon Price. Nothing that Long could do with that. He holds his hand up in acknowledgement of the mistake.
So he should. They're getting a little bit too overconfident. They shouldn't be. The way that Warrington have come back for Feely's try, put him in the picture. This game is not over yet. They've got to really roll the sleeves up.
And there's a problem for James Roby. He's gone down. He's limping away. There he comes. Back into the defensive line, but there's a problem for young Roby. Here is Paul Wood. What a game he's had.
That's the reason why he's being drafted into the Great Britain squad, because his workload is very, very high indeed. That's a poor kick.
Breers went for the 40-20 option, but Gardner read the script. Mark Gleeson first to him. Sullivan gets him down.
You have to ask Eddie, you know those two bad kicks that we saw from Lee Breers in the opening 5 minutes, how much effect it had on it? No, he's got the penalty. Look at the rain coming down now.
We were promised thunderstorms and thundery showers. We've got one here at Nosey Road. It will make ball control difficult.
No doubt about it. It's pulled out deliberately by Russ.
So penalty to St Helens. 10 metres in the Warrington half. Here they come again with Fozzard.
We've got to keep that tempo going now, Saints. Utilise the forwards very effective in that first half.
Great offload from Graham. Roby, though, tackled by Andy Braycheck.
2, clear 8.
Probably played together in academy football here at St Helens once upon a time. Sculthorpe.
Third, back.
Lyon. Graham again.
Oh, they're hanging off for this Warrington defence. Remember, they did that in the last 10 minutes of the first half, and Saints just crucified them.
Here is Cunningham. Cunningham.
But it looked for all the world that the hooker was going to go on his own.
He's barking instructions down. I think Warrington are lucky to get away with that.
They certainly were. I think
I'm not so sure that Noon didn't knock on the deck.
I think what he wants, Eddie, is to send the message out that said, stop trying to keep this ball alive. We should have full control of that. All they have to do is keep the camp down in their own quarter. They failed to do it.
Well, Cunningham almost made an immediate impact, didn't he? Wood is grounded by a heavy tackle from Sculthorpe. Last tackle, good defence again from St Helens. Warrington still inside their own half. Breer's trying to get the kick away. He does, but it's again not the best. And Hartman will run this ball back.
Good run and great defence as well. Super stuff there. Paul Noon got right underneath him.
Second, clear.
Chris Radlinski has been quite quiet in this second half. It's a vital stage of the game, this, Chris.
It is, Eddie. You know, before the game we questioned Warrington's ambitions to make it, you know, into the playoffs, and now they're the real deal. I think so far this second half, that, you know, they're proving that. You know, Paul Cullen probably gave him a bit of a run in at half-time. He probably wanted a response. But so far they've scored and really defended well. They say they respond now to Saints keeping the ball alive. Sean Long's really laying into his shot in St Helens players, telling them not to panic in this area. He's going to control the game now.
Cunningham is the dummy half for the Saints. Here is that man Long, and there's the high kick. Barnett's out under there. Can Barnett get to it? No, he can't. It's a knock-on.
He knows it's not his day. The Warrington coach, Paul Cullen. Barnett definitely got the fingertips to that. Under a lot of pressure from Hardman.
Feel sorry for Richie Barnett, because it does appear with him that it is either a knock-on or a glorious 80-metre try.
I think if you had a group of kids nowadays and you had to choose a position, wing might be the last one you'd go for, because there's just so much one-on-one pressure on that last play near the line.
And if you get smart players and smart coaches, they soon see the weakness, don't they? This is Gilmore.
It's a difficult thing for any coach, isn't it, Eddie? You know, if you've got a man that's got speed and can score tries, you've just got to say, you know, will it tilt the balance eventually throughout the run of the season?
Long the dummy half and will scamper forward himself, waiting for someone to come and join in the fun. It's Vinnie Anderson. Cunningham waits dummy half again. Oh, well, it was a nice little bit of play. And he's upset with himself, James Graham. It was dry weather football, really, wasn't it?
Well, he knew he was going to score, that's why. And the look of disgust on Kieran Cunningham's face after this.
James.
Slow things down. I'm pretty good at lip reading these days.
You think that's the message? Because Saints, when they just up the ante, that is when they are irresistible.
Okay, move.
But we've already made mention that Daniel Anderson has brought a lot of cool, smart football into this St Helens side.
Penalty to Warrington.
I think a penalty was the only way Warrington were going to clearly get out to the half. They're clearly short of healthy, fit forwards. Rahihi's loss is a major blow to the Wolves now, because besides Paul Wood and a couple of the other guys, they need some players, some enforcers out there to put a dent in this Saints defence.
Here is Wainwright. Gets the ball away. Oh, great hands, and misses Barnett. And Richie Barnett is in for Warrington. They got St Helens on the back foot then. There were great hands on show. And Richie Barnett, well, it's a knock-on at one end, and the next minute it's a stroll in at the other for Barnett. And the Warrington supporters now are thinking, is this going to be Wakefield all over again?
And full credit to it, Wainwright taking the blind side, could see that they were very slow to move up. They took full advantage of Sean Long out there on the defensive line. They failed to get into the face of them, they made full credit of it, and Barnett gets the try.
Well, it's a play they've used before. The penalty got them into the right part of the field again. The importance of the penalty count, vital very often to the outcome of a match. But it's a play they've used with Wainwright going back down the short side. Skillful player with vision.
Richie Barnett then with the try, and if Lee Briers can add this conversion, well, the fat will be in the fire. Briers drifts the kick over the top of the crossbar. It's 26 points to 16. The gap is down to 10.
Wainwright looks as though he's going on the open side. Look how the Saints defence are just hanging back. They got caught napping. Bang! Great work. Put that down to quick thinking from the second row of Mick Wainwright, and Barnett took it with glee. This is not over by a long chalk.
Well, the Warrington Wolves completed their 50th away win in Super League last week in France. They arrived here on the back of 4 straight victories, high in confidence, and although the first half wasn't the best, they look in no mood to surrender this easily. And they still have 21 minutes left to rescue the game. Whatever Paul Cullen said to his charges at half-time has worked. There are 2 tries to nil in this second half.
Well, they're playing with not just confidence, but the skill factor has certainly gone up a few notches. They've got nothing to lose. They really have got nothing to lose, but they just keep this ball alive. They look dead and buried. It needs to be a good kick and chase here.
Sullivan all along the deck. Leon Price watches it carefully because the rain is falling. It's greasy now, the football.
And good thinking. Instead of going for the high bomb, just keep it, pushing it towards. Get it as low as they can. Skidding this ball on the wet surface.
Cunningham. Punishing run from dummy half from Cunningham. Important tackle that was.
You know, the amazing thing about Cunningham tonight, he's only run about 3 times from dummy half. That was one of them. A little doubt. Big Kenny, only the fullback. The official Richard Silverwood didn't have to push into the equation.
Here's James Graham again.
But a solid basic forward football now from Saints. Then put on the skill factor.
Long and Price and Vinnie Anderson. You get the feeling that Warrington need to keep them out here with a quarter of the match remaining. Otherwise the comeback just might falter a little. Kalis juggles with it. Westwood's all over him. So too is Noon. They get him down eventually. But there are still 3 tackles remaining. And St Helens are just 5 metres short of the line. It's with Long now. And the ball to Sculthorpe. And through the hands quickly to the winger Hardman, who spins away from 2 and can't get away from the next man in. Young Mark Gleeson.
Wonderful hands in wet conditions. Absolutely superb. Here he goes.
Cunningham. Oh, another penalty against Warrington. Not standing square. They are punishing.
He'll take the 10. Now he's going to kick it back. Give himself room to move. That means that Warrington have to go back to the full.
Yeah, Barnett was nowhere near standing square at the play of the ball. So here comes St Helens again. If Warrington survive this, it will be a miracle. And Paul Rahihi is waiting to come back into the match. He only played seconds of the first half. It's with Wilkin. And he ran straight into Vinnie Anderson then, and that is obstruction. It's a penalty, Warrington, and the miracles happened. They have survived.
They certainly have survived, and I must say that St Helens are losing the plot completely. They've gone too much individual stuff. He's not happy, Daniel Anderson. He knows he could lose this.
Well, it was 31-30 in a real comeback victory by St Helens last year. Surely it's not Warrington's turn tonight, more, is it? This is Gleeson. He flicks the ball like Vol. On comes Paul Rahihi. That is an almighty boost for the Warrington Wolves as Westwood takes it forward. He gives it to Wainwright. There he is.
His greatest strength, Eddie, is his ability to offload in heavy in traffic. If players support him, there's some points here for the Wolves.
They're going towards Rahihi. Here he is. He'll trundle it forward. He gets the ball away. It's Brent Gross. Brent Gross stabs it towards the line, picked up by Leon Price. And there are 1, 2, 3 jerseys there in blue to bring him down.
Good quality there from Rahihi, but great positional work by Leon Price. Now the question is going to be asked about this St. Helens outfit. Can they show the gumption? Can they roll up the sleeves and get themselves back in full control of this game? It seems to be slipping away slightly. Full credit to the Wolves. They really have upped the tempo in the second half. They needed to.
But this set of 6 also has been, the tempo's been increased by St. Helens, and Gilmore slips the net and gives it to Sculthorpe, who he was nearly through. Important tackle by Lightfall. Here is Long. He looked up this way and saw Aidy Gardner on the way. It's Gardner against Farfili. Gardner comes up with it, gives it to Anderson and knocks on.
It was a try, just for the taking.
It's the turnover.
He cannot believe it. He could see there out of the corner of his eye, Long, that Gardner had moved straight up, offload. I don't think Breers would have stopped this fella, not with his weight. Slippy conditions, nervous times.
Big hit by Cunningham on Paul Noon.
You know, it's a great test now for Warrington. We've seen them on Sky Sports over the last month beat Leeds and beat Bradford. They've done that from a position of being in front. Here's now the next phase they'll have to go through if they really want to be a side to win the grand final, to be able to win against the top side in the last 15 minutes from behind.
Barnett is quick, but not quick enough to beat Lyon down that touchline. Here comes Reardon for Warrington.
That was great run, you know, from Richie Barnett. He got and played the ball so quickly. Out for the Saints side, we're getting back into the position.
Breers looking for Farfili. Decision for the referee in touch, judge.
Maybe a dropout.
I think the referee wants Dave Campbell, the video referee, just to give him some advice here.
You touch it. Come on. All right, wait.
Leon Price asking the referee to get on with it, and he's waiting for words.
It did look as if Gardner just pushed it with his right hand over the line.
Yes, he did.
Drop out underneath the sticks.
Well done, Phil.
Drop out.
Neat little kick from Lee Breers as well.
Goal line dropout.
Here's a stat for you, Eddie. The best team at scoring from goal line dropouts in Super League this year, the Warrington Wolves.
Well done, Richard Silverwood, by the way, because he could have taken a word from his touch judge that wasn't conclusive and given a tap on the 20-metre line. As it is, he waited, called time off, and David Campbell gave him the word in his ear. Well done.
That's what it's there for, Eddie.
Not the best goal line dropout Saints have ever produced. Reardon to run it back again.
They're on fire to the Wolves at the moment. Look at that.
Lightfall.
Wouldn't it be amazing if they can score here?
And here they come with Westwood. Gilmore got to him. Also there, Matty Smith. Vinnie Anderson lending his weight as well. Gleeson's the dummy half. It comes to Lee Breers. And Breers turns it around. Gives it to Martin Gleeson. Martin Gleeson nearly skips his way to the line. Hooper with an important tackle. Mark Gleeson. Back it comes again. Sullivan stabs the kick. Oh, it's play on.
Taken out. That'll be a penalty try.
I don't think it'll be a penalty try. It'll be a penalty, that's for sure.
Well, Leon Price, I'm sure, took out Richie Barnett.
I think he did.
In the action of scoring a try, as far as I'm concerned.
Was he, or was he on the other side of the line?
I think this might be a penalty try, Eddie. That's the knock on. That's the kick on. Everything's fine there. That's a penalty try. No doubt about it. He was in the action of going down and putting his hand, and Leon Price has just whacked him. This will be the penalty try, I'm sure. It's been a long time since we've seen one. He has made no attempt to go for the football. It was there.
Well, it's certainly 10 minutes in the sin bin. Whether it's a penalty try...
Oh, all he had to do was just put his hand on it. There was no way in the world that Sean Long could interfere. And this, I think, ladies and gentlemen, will not be only a TR try, it'll be a penalty try.
Incredible. Leon Price, and he should also get 10 minutes in the bin. And it's going to be a conversion in front of the sticks.
Full credit to them, they tested their arm, and it was all brought about by the mistake. And I must say, the way that Stuart Reardon is injecting himself on 2 occasions in the past 5 minutes has really made all sorts of problems for them. It was a bad mistake by Hardman. This is the conversion.
Bang in front, and Breers doesn't miss those. That is the 3rd Warrington try converted in this second half. 26-4 half-time, 26-22 now, and Daniel Anderson has a crisis on his hands. Barnett gets the penalty try. It's his 2nd of the match. Chris Radlinski, what a fight back.
It's unbelievable, you know, they're answering a lot of questions tonight. The coach must be overwhelmed with this. He probably didn't expect it himself. About the 10 minutes there about Leon Price. Lee Breers asked the referee, and the referee dismissed it. I don't know what the rule is on that, Eddie.
Well, I wonder whether he was asking for an 8-point try for the penalty.
That's an offence scored after a try has been scored.
Yeah.
That's how it
So he was the wrong there, wasn't he? But he was asking for an 8-point try, and that's not right.
Do you know the confidence that Sayers had in the first 11 weeks of this competition probably carried them home safe, but now having lost 1 game last week against Huddersfield Giants, they all of a sudden look like a vulnerable team going into this last 10 minutes, and Warrington with nothing to lose really do look dangerous.
Here's a 40-20 from Breers.
He's got it, and he knows it, and he is excited about it. This could be the key factor. I said at half-time that it was BBB. Breers burst bubble. He's come back. They are pumping air into it, hard and fast. This is unbelievable. I don't think he can understand what's happening out there.
Well, I think he can. I think he generated it in the dressing room. Daniel Anderson looks, well, very stern indeed, because he knows this game is slipping away from his team. And here is Breers. And he gives it again to Gleeson, that angled run where Gleeson comes back up the middle. He'll play it to brother Mark. Gleeson, Mark attacks the line, and St Helens somehow hold him out. Warrington underneath the sticks. Westwood. Sullivan. Good defence from Jamie Lyon. Terrific defence from Lyon now.
Keep your eye out for Stuart Reardon. He's up the tempo. Paul Cullen has told him to send out.
Plundering forward. Plod, plod.
Oh, it's nearly over. He is over. They'll bring him back.
Held up. Held up, so tackle count continues 10 metres away from the line. It's tackle number 4, this. This is Breers. There's the inside pass to Westwood.
This is turning out into a game where everybody says, I was there.
Mark Gleeson just lost his way momentarily then. They just all overran him then. And there was no option.
He was looking for someone, he lost the plot slightly. He just had a little bit of a look up to say, is anybody in position? They should have been shouting for that, Phil Clark, to make sure that
Lee Breers came up with a good call. He switched from the right, back to the left, but by that time, Gleeson had lost him, couldn't find him on that vital last play.
Jamie Lyon to try and run the ball back for St Helens. 4 points in it, 10 minutes to go. It looked all over at half-time. Warrington have come back off the canvas.
They were out on their feet, Eddie. The heads were down when they walked in at half-time.
That bounced off the back of Gleeson. It can't possibly be head and feet to St Helens. No, it's Warrington's. It was just off the back of Gleeson's head. He didn't play that.
No, he just got out of it, tried to get out of it anyway.
No, get Jamie Lyon off the field.
The bombs and bounced straight in.
Get Jamie Lyon off the field.
Referee wants Jamie Lyon off the field and in the blood bin, and that's why.
Full credit to Warrington, you know, that they could have just come out the second half and say, well, let's try to just stop this Saints juggernaut going through. But they've started moving the ball about. They've been testing their arm, and it's been coming off.
Well, full credit to Paul Cullen. I don't know what he said to them. Lyon will leave the field with that blood streaming from the eye.
Take him off!
That looks as though it's Stitch's job.
Wait!
It's a pretty big slip.
And he's had an eye infection, Jamie Lyon. He's only just back after that. That's not an infection, that, as you say, Steve-O, is a gash.
The antibiotics won't do anything for that one.
9 minutes remain. Wainwright. Sullivan. He's had a good game, Michael Sullivan.
He's been busy all night, as you say. Along with the hooker Mark Gleeson, they've been the ones to perhaps create a bit of a problem. That'll be a knock-on.
Offside against Warrington.
Not what they needed.
He was in front of the ball. It comes off. Sullivan there, and Barnett was in front of the man. That's why the penalty is given. That will relieve the pressure on Saints.
And they've got to do it, Eddie. OK, they're 4 points adrift. They've got to keep it alive. And he's trying to convince the man with the whistle. Completely ignored him, did Mr. Silverwood. But at least he can walk out with his head held high today, whatever happens from here on in.
Leeds mounting a comeback against Hull, 22-38. Last 10 minutes there as well. A comeback of epic proportions underway here by Warrington, but can St Helens just clinch it? This is Jason Hooper. Warrington now being called on to defend. Long. Short ball, Kalis. Jason Kalis in the front row for the Kiwis last week against the Aussies. Cunningham. Back it comes to Long. Here is Matty Smith. Now it's Gilmore on a hat-trick. Lee Gilmore gets the hat-trick, does he? Well, it's a decision for Dave Campbell again.
Let's check. See if no one's knocked the ball out.
He loves running out in the centres, doesn't he, Gilmore?
See if he's not ripped it.
Farfila got to him, he's lost it. Is it knocked out deliberately? That's what they've got to find out. Is there a stray hand? I think you may find that Farfila's hand is in there.
No, he's nowhere near the ball. I think he was first up, but I don't think he was when the ball came out.
There's a hand there anyway. One thing that is for sure, it is no try.
Knock on against Lee Gilmore, who was hunting the hat-trick.
You'd think so.
Phil?
No try. Now, you've got to be allowed to tackle around the ball, and that's what Farfihi did. This game, Eddie, you reminded us, was decided with, what, 20 seconds to go last year?
Yes, a Sean Long drop goal.
I think, again, we're going to go into the last minute before we know who takes out the 2 points.
So, 10 metres from their own line, Warrington will try and come again. Reardon. Chris, it's worth the admission money, this, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, I would have finished the game. I've not really missed it that much, but on nights like this, you know, we're part of a great sport, and it's a great spectacle, isn't it?
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. There is no doubt about that. You don't get contests like this in every sport that is played. Breers has gone for another big hoof downfield. There was no chance that that would be a 40-20. Here comes Hardman again.
Well, it's amazing how Warrington have just found that burst of energy that was sadly lacking in the final 10 minutes of the first half. They really have regrouped, and they've played solid football as well. St Helens, the respect now is that they're just trying to slow things down. They're hanging on.
This is Fozzard. Wainwright stood his ground. Cunningham switches the direction of the attack. It's with Hooper. Rahehe got to him unfairly. This could be a 2-pointer that St Helens might accept gratefully.
Well, they did in the first couple of minutes, and I have little doubt that Nana Anderson will send out the word. No doubt about it, Rahehe went for it. Sheer frustration. No, they're only 4 points adrift. They had to do something to try to get this football back. Saints will take their time. They know the seconds are ticking away. Jamie Lyon lines it up.
Eddie, assuming they're the kicks this, will Warrington elect to go for that short kick-off? They've done it so successfully this season. Mike Wainwright standing on the left-hand side for Warrington. Will they go for the ball, or will they be patient, put the deep kick and try and force a mistake? I suspect, knowing the Wolves, they're gamblers. They'll go for a short restart and try and win possession. They're trying a goal, and we say it will be square.
You're assuming that Lyon kicks this?
I am assuming that he kicks this, and it is difficult when somebody's just been strapping your head up for 2 or 3 minutes.
But if he kicks it, Warrington kick off. If he misses it, but the ball goes dead, it would have been a drop out from the 20-metre line. It is academic. It's 28-22. It's a 6-point ball game, and we're going to find out the identity of tonight's man of the match, Dave Hadfield.
We think players like Paul Wood and Mark Gleeson have worked their socks off for Warrington tonight. They've been absolutely admirable, but it's probably going to be Saints just about edge it, despite all this mixing and matching, or maybe because of it. Because nothing's worked better than playing Lee Gilmore out in the centre. 2 tries, an unselfish pass for another one, and willing to do the hard work when needed as well. He's our man of the match tonight, Lee Gilmore.
So Lee Gilmore gets the Gillette Sports Pack as man of the match, and the St Helens supporters agree with the choice, at least. Here's Kalis again. Steve Overwood in 1-point country now for St Helens, just to wrap it up.
Without a doubt, and that's all they have to do. They don't need to play any fancy football from here on in.
Kalis will drive it in towards those sticks again. Last tackle, Long is back there. It was his drop goal that won it last year. Here it is, Long again, 1-pointer. He's missed it.
Just to the left. Not put under much pressure.
Same end as last year as well.
Yeah.
By the way.
Been a great game.
It has been a great game. And again, Warrington is so near, yet so far at the moment. 4 minutes to go, 6 points in it. Down to Bill, more injuries, Bill.
Well, Eddie, it would just be Saints' night if they ended up with another injury, and it could be that they have that problem, because James Roby, who came off about 15 minutes ago, is sitting on the sidelines with his left knee in a big brace. Now, whether that is a serious problem, we're not able to find out yet, but Roby certainly doesn't look that clever, so that would be a 7th player to add to the Saints injured list.
Well, we've just seen something remarkable there. The officials did not pick up the forward pass from Michael Sullivan to this fella, but look at it. That is so far forward.
And the touch judge was right behind Barnett.
And he actually went into touch. That's the reason why Saints have got the head and thumb. Well, I must say, that's the most amazing forward pass that they've got away with it
44-28. Hull have beaten the Leeds Rhinos. St Helens, if they hang on to this for 3 minutes, will restore their 6-point advantage. What a run Hull are on.
Well, I must say the new coach at Hull certainly has lifted them spirits as well, and the quality. They're just in top form, aren't they?
They are. It was begun by Agar and continued on now by Peter Sharp for the past 2 weeks. I think that's 6 in a row, isn't it, for Hull? Here's Barnett.
Eddie, somebody in the Wolves jersey has to help them come up with the 70 or 80 metre try here. I think Reardon, big play. The penalty, the big play in rugby league. It's going to get them out of the half. Here's a chance.
Well, you've got to be looking for the likes of Lee Breers, the little chip over the top, something different. We've seen it once already tonight. Will he do it yet again? They're in a good position. They're very quiet here. It's only the Warrington fans that are screaming.
They need to quick play the balls, Eddie. It's the speed around the run which will help a Gleeson to get through.
Gleeson. Paul Wood. Breers to Martin Gleeson. Gets the ball away to Michael Sullivan. Great defence again.
He stood up to the plate late in this second half, Paul Sculthorpe. Not only has he took the ball up just like he would as a prop forward, but he's really, really working his side in defence.
A minute and a half remaining here at Nosey Road. Warrington have to score. And here comes Reardon. Oh, pinched. Gardner. Gardner's away. Gardner to win the match for St Helens. Gardner with the try that clinches the victory for the Saints. It has been a battle royal. They're delighted now. They were biting their fingernails
just seemed to drop into them. It looked as though Breers had put Reardon on the way to it. They had to keep it alive. They had to take the chance. Full credit to Gardner. His explosive speed made sure that he got into the open space. It's all over now. A few seconds ago, these people underneath us, the Saints fans, were quiet. He's a relief man. He's disappointed.
And so are the Warrington players. They had to just chance their arm. The run from Reardon took them into dangerous territory. They were looking for the score that would have forced a draw. As it is, Hull will definitely go above them now in the table, and Leeds are 6 points behind St Helens at the top of the table. Lyon from bang in front. This to wrap up a 12-point victory. 34-22. Daniel Anderson maintains the unbeaten home record. He doesn't look terribly pleased though, does he? And Paul Cullen knows again that it has been just a bridge too far. It's all over.
I think he knows that he lost it in the opening first half. Those 10 minutes before half-time, Saints just blitzed them.
That's when it was won. No question of that. They scored 3 tries in 8 minutes. St Helens, they led 26 points to 4 at half-time. What a fight back though in the second 40. And it was only the Gardner try right on the stroke of full time that eventually wrapped up the win. Memorable night though. Saints 34, Warrington 22. Fantastic entertainment, I think you will agree. It was all St Helens in the first half. There was a spirited fight back from the Warrington Wolves in the second half, but in the end, Saints won it by 34 points to 22. Lee Gilmore is the man of the match. We're going to talk to Daniel Anderson as well, but first of all, Gilmore, who goes home with the sports pack.
Congratulations on a man of the match performance, Lee. And what a game it turned out to be, cruising at half time, but then you had to really dig in, didn't you?
Yeah, you know, we talked about a lot of things during the week from the disappointment at Huddersfield, and I thought we showed up well today. It was a massive team performance, and what a great game.
And yet, pretty uncomfortable towards the end.
Yeah, you know, we had a poor start and went 4 or 6-0 down. We pulled it back with some good ball control in the first half, and Warrington are a classy side, and they showed why they're never a dead team.
You could have had a hat-trick. You very generously gave the third away, didn't you?
Yeah, you know, didn't want to make a mistake there, so just give it to Wade and got the 4 points in the end.
Settled for 2, well done.
Cheers, mate.
Well, Coach Daniel Anderson is here as well, and from 24-6 at half time to be really having to dig in at the end, that's a credit to the opposition.
Yeah, we gave them too much ball. We had half as much possession in the second half as we had in the first half, but I credit our defence as well. They're a very good team with the ball in the hand, and I thought we had to dig in when we needed to.
And yet, another, by the look of things, injury. James Roby, obviously it's early days, but he sat there on the sidelines with a knee brace on. Is it turning out just to be one of those phases of the season for you?
It comes, that's what happens at that sometimes, but we'll welcome a few back next week. But I mean, it was a fantastic team performance, and I'm very, very proud as a coach right now.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
It was a great team performance. It looks like it was a pretty good team performance as well by Hull at Leeds. They've beaten Leeds by 44 points to 28. So it means that the Saints have that 6-point advantage again at the top of the table. Hull are up to third. Bradford, of course, play tomorrow at Harlequins. Warrington down to 5th. Salford hanging on in there as well, and the battle joined behind them. 6 points the gap for St Helens over all the rest at the top of the N-Gage Super League. Chris Linsky is here with us. He had to retire from the game earlier on this year. He confessed, actually, didn't you, during the game? You haven't missed it much, but on nights like this, you'd love to be back out there.
I loved it tonight. The noise generated when Gardner went off for the last try was incredible. I think in the changing rooms there'll be two teams with bruised bodies, but two very proud coaches standing above them all. Daniel Anderson, he had a depleted team, yet his team ground out a victory. And Paul Cullen, at half-time he wanted a response from his team, and he'd certainly give it. He should be a very proud man today.
Yes, indeed. Both coaches will take a lot of heart from this. Next week, it's the Challenge Cup. Warrington have got Whitehaven. St Helens are here against Bradford, and Saints have been beaten up tonight.
They have. It's a tough one for Saints. To peak and get to 2 cup finals is their goal for the season, and that's what they'll want to do. As for Warrington, well, they've played against some big sides in Super League recently, the likes of Leeds, Bradford and Saints. The next 6 Super League games are all against teams currently in the bottom half of the table. They'll want to show that consistency to keep picking up those wins.
What a great advert again, though, for the sport of Super League here tonight. 2 committed teams. All right, one of them maybe had one eye on next week, Steve-O, but that was fantastic. It ebbed and flowed, particularly in the second half.
Yeah, it is, and I think Warrington can feel proud about it, because psychologically, if they had played as poorly as they did in the last 10 minutes of that first half, then it would have really got to them. I don't think they could have really got themselves back off the canvas, but they did it in the second half. Okay, they didn't get those 2 vital league points, but they did prove to themselves that A, they are fit, they were out on the feet just before half-time, and it just shows that this competition can be won by any team at all.
Hear to that. Coming up next, we have boxing with Friday Fight Night as Lenny Dawes takes on Nigel Wright for the British Light Welterweight title here on Sky Sports 1. And right now there is golf from the Byron Nelson Championship over on Sky Sports Extra. Right, the Rugby League continues with St George Illawarra Dragons against the New Zealand Warriors in the morning on Sky Sports Extra, and same channel on Sunday for West Tigers Newcastle Knights. They're the 2 offerings this week from the NRL. And what about this for a match? Wakefield against Wigan, 7 o'clock, Saturday night, Sky Sports 1. It's a do-or-die night for the Wigan Warriors. We have an old Warrior with us here tonight. You can't believe it, but he'll be in front of the telly tomorrow. I trust you will be as well. From all of us here, goodbye.
There's truth in the fire now. Love is the lightning, the feeling is fighting.